morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi,
How's
Andrea.
everyone's morning
Hello.
going?
Doing good, doing good. How you doing, Rigel?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here with everyone and
All right.
alive, and even though some things might seem not great, you know what? It's nothing compared to being alive. So it's all about perspective, right?
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear that optimistic attitude. It's always good, especially in the morning, early mornings.
Thank you, Ad Rock.
Yeah.
I'm drinking my.
So, what's up, Andrea?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I am excited to have the first episode of TFW Talks Cancer. Each month, we will host a space for a different type of cancer as part of our mission to raise cancer awareness. As in March is colorectal cancer awareness, today the topic is, of course, colon cancer. So I want to give a short introduction about Tutti Frutti Human before we dive into the conversation with Rigel. So Tutti Frutti Woman is an NFT project that celebrates cancer warriors and survivors with a unique NFT collection. Our mission, as I said, is to raise cancer awareness, and we plan to donate 10% of the proceeds to cancer research. We also offer weekly health grants to our holders to encourage early detection. And of course, we plan to invest in the project development as we want to bring this important mission into the metaverse. Tutti Frutti Woman is currently minting, so if you want to be part of something unique, different, and to make a difference, please join us by minting your own Tutti Frutti Woman. And as a special bonus, we have a Sappy Seal NFT giveaway once we reach 500 mints, so don't miss out. And by the way, in this space, because we want to show the appreciation for your support, we will give one Tutti Frutti Woman away to someone who likes, retweets, and comments hashtag colon cancer awareness. What do you think about this?
That's great. Can we put that in the chat bubble?
Yes, I guess so.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome, Andrea. Let's
For the
go. Yeah,
jumbotron.
everybody.
It's your first
Let's go and
jumbotron.
let's
Yeah,
grow.
yeah.
That's
If
right.
you if you go down to the comments, like and retweet the space, and then add the hashtag. What was the hashtag, Andrea?
Colon cancer awareness.
Yeah, add that hashtag when you like and retweet the space, and you'll be entered to into the giveaway. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go.
Yep.
And yeah, and share the space too, uh, so we can get some more people in here. That's another good reason to share the space. So always got to remind people to share the space right away when we start.
Yeah, that is a good reminder. Me, I'm like, hey, let's go.
Yeah,
No formalities.
and I always like to add to let's go with let's grow. This is from Ad Rock.
That's right. That is one of Ad Rock's common phrases.
Let's
That,
go. I yeah, I took off with that one, but I didn't start it. I guess Andrew is the one that started that.
yeah,
So if you guys know Andrew, Sheba Sequoia
yeah,
Forest,
that makes
he's the one that started Let's Grow. But yeah, I love it. So, and he doesn't have a problem with me using it. So it's all good.
I imagine
Okay,
he wants
so
us to spread the word.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's right. So I want to thank everyone again for joining this space. Johnny, John, Rose, Elson, Hasta la Vista, Shib, and Am, my dear friend Am. Thank you so much for joining. I didn't expect you join. I know it's late. Okay, so uh, Rigel, thank you again for joining and for being open to break this bubble and to open the discussion about cancer. And I want to start with a question for you about colon cancer. I know you had a tough journey and you're a achiever. So I want to ask you if it's okay to share with us how you first became aware of your diagnosis with colon cancer and what were your initial thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I absolutely am willing to answer these questions for you. Thank you for asking and for holding this space. Um, so, my mother actually passed away of colon cancer in 1995. She was 38 and I was 14 at the time. Um, so, I'd actually been receiving my regular screenings because I did have really good healthcare coverage up until recently. I'd been actually experiencing symptoms for several months, for a while. Um, I kept pushing aside, like, I just kept blaming it on other things that were already going on, like, IBS or chronic nausea or whatever. And I was telling myself that it's not always cancer. Just because my mom had cancer didn't mean that I did. But it was because of my routine colonoscopy, because I was getting my regular screenings. I was ignoring all the other symptoms for I had my reasons. My daughter was going through a lot of medical stuff, and I was working a night shift, and I was blaming a lot of fatigue on working nights. And then there was blood in the stool, and that was about the time that my screening was due anyway. Now, granted, I want to mention that this was all during the early part of the pandemic. My original colonoscopy that I was due for was canceled in February of 2020. And then the GI team, where I was receiving my care, started making outbound calls during the middle of the pandemic. So I was able to reschedule my regular screening in June of 2020. And that's a big deal because that was during the pandemic, you guys. Like there were medical clinics not taking patients, and they were still really unaware of a lot of what was going on with COVID, and there were a lot of unknowns. So it was a really big deal that the GI team started making those outbound calls, and I do credit them for saving my life, really, and rescheduling my regular screening for June instead. So when I went in for my colonoscopy, they told me that they found a tumor. So as I was telling myself it's not always cancer, I wasn't. I was sad, but I wasn't surprised. So right away, we went next door to the hospital and received my all the imaging tests that I needed, like a CT scan and everything to check to make sure it hadn't spread. So yeah, I mean, I was crushed. I was crushed to hear those words because I had just outlived my mom. I was 39 years old and she passed away when she was 38. So yeah, it opened up a lot of past trauma for me, and it was a hard thing to hear.
I understood. I'm grateful you are here now with so much energy and so much strength and being so open to share all this journey with us. I'm grateful for this and thank you. And I want to know about your treatment plan. How did you approach it? And if you had any concerns or a reservation about some certain treatments or procedures?
Yes, I did. Of course, nobody wants to be cut open. However, what motivated me to be more aggressive about my cancer treatment and my surgical approach was because my mom was waiting for insurance before she sought treatment. Because of her waiting, her cancer spread to her liver, and then it was over. And she suffered greatly, and she died a terrible death, actually. This was before we knew about Lynch syndrome and things like that. Because I worked for a healthcare organization, I had excellent care. We were very aggressive about my treatment, or about how we approached the surgery. The first thing we did was we tested. I agreed to take a genetic test to see if I tested positive for something called Lynch syndrome. And Lynch syndrome is something you'll hear a lot in colorectal cancer awareness. So Lynch syndrome means that your body does not catch the mistakes that are made during when your DNA is being sequenced. And it's called the mismatch repair. So when your body's not putting together your DNA properly, it can miss the errors that show that cancer is there, and it can become cancer instead. So for someone, and she was, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the numbers are like around 1 or 2% for a predisposition of colon cancer for a regular person. But for someone with Lynch syndrome, it's an 80% chance of Lynch syndrome. Of colon cancer. It's an 80% chance of colon cancer. So that's a really big difference. It was like almost a guarantee, especially with my mom's history, that if they only cut out a small section of my colon, that it would come back. So we agreed on a 99% colectomy. I didn't want to have to do this twice. So my colorectal surgeon, who is amazing, and I think I'm very grateful for his skills. But after the genetic test came back positive for Lynch syndrome, we decided to pursue a 99% colectomy, which is almost a complete colectomy. They cut almost all of my colon and all the surrounding tissue and lymph nodes out, instead of just a small section, because I didn't want to have to keep doing that, because the likelihood of it reoccurring, the likelihood of it coming back was pretty high. So because of that, it was a really tough recovery for me, because I had already been experiencing GI problems with my small intestine. So I didn't have to get a colostomy bag. And in these days, I hear they're actually really not that bad. But it does, because I agreed to go with a J pouch instead. Things work differently, and there are some daily struggles, but I am alive and I'm grateful for that. What Lynch syndrome also does is it predisposes that person, a female, for a 60% chance of endometrial cancer. So my colorectal surgeon highly recommended within a year for me to also have a preventative total hysterectomy, including my ovaries, because Lynch syndrome also predisposes you to a list of other cancers, and ovarian cancer is one of them. That being a silent killer, I didn't want to risk it. So I decided to move forward with the preventative surgery as well. And I know women have hysterectomies all the time, but to have your ovaries removed is a whole different ballgame, because it throws you into what's called sudden surgical menopause. So it's like jumping off a cliff, and not having any estrogen being created by your body anymore is a pretty big deal. I wish I would have thought about that a little bit more, but I was really aggressive. I didn't want to wait, because my mom waited. So with the excellent healthcare coverage I had at the time, I didn't feel like it was a smart thing to wait. So after my first surgery, my lymph nodes and everything were tested. I was about a centimeter away from my cancer spreading outside of my colon. So when the tests came back negative in my lymph nodes, negative for any cancerous findings, it was a huge relief. And I'm very lucky that I did not have to endure any chemotherapy or radiation treatments like a lot of people do. But that's because of one thing and one thing only, besides a higher power, of course. That was because I was getting my regular screenings. And that's what saved my life.
That's a tough treatment journey, and this only shows how much power and strength you and so many warriors and retrievers have. And also, thank you for sharing this valuable information. Definitely something new to learn for me. And yes, early detection is the key, right?
Yes, very much the key. And I knew something was wrong around the time. I knew something was very wrong around the time that my colorectal screening was due, and that was very fortunate for me. And because of my previous screenings, every 5 years, we had a history. So there was also a timeline. And, all of those information, all of those important informational findings, that's good to know in retrospect. So yes, yeah, I'm very, very fortunate that I was getting my regular screenings. And I'm thankful to that GI team all the time because they were risking themselves, by taking patients and holding the colonoscopy procedures. So, and the colonoscopy it's worth it. You know what? It's a pretty short prep, and compared to the impact and what you're preventing, hopefully, and what you're finding in the early detection, it's worth it. Go ahead, Shibazam.
Rigel, you actually, everything you've said is so important. When it comes to, cancer, especially, in the colon, it is one of the easiest ones to treat, but the problem is that you have to find this, in time. So one of the things, and it's funny because a lot of the studies that you've actually referenced or you've spoken about have come from Bethesda, which is the actual hospital I was stationed at, which is Walter Reed, probably no, actually not probably, the biggest hospital in the world. And so they do a lot of the studies there. And so one study that I was a part of in 2017 was in the development of a pill cam. So this pill cam was so that, because a lot of people, including myself, by the way, and I should know better, it's an invasive procedure, but not in the way that you think. It's actually quite simple. In terms of what they do, not to maneuver though. But anyways, they use mild sedation, usually Versed and fentanyl, and you're up in like 30 minutes, after the procedure's done. But anyways, with this pill cam, we wanted to achieve several things. The fact that about, what is it, like 70% of the population don't get a screening colonoscopy in time, or at least 50 years and younger. I prefer 40, but 50 years or younger, or for those people that have already a history, it should even be as soon as 25. But so we wanted to address that situation. So we developed with a company in Israel, actually, and Medtronics as well, and Covidian, this pill cam. And so we tested it, and it was very, very successful. You still do the same type of prep, so you want to have your prep done very good, so follow instructions there. But this camera is at the same quality as your iPhone. So imagine that you're swallowing this pill that is taking images 360 all the way out, basically. And so what that does, it actually looks for polyps. Polyps are the first sign for for cancer. And the other thing that it also identifies is diverticulitis, or basically like holes within your colon. It kind of looks like holes, basically. And so that in the military, when it was being developed, it basically made us come up to 90% in the military, for those that were on the older demographic, get their screening colonoscopy. So that was the one thing that I felt would help the community, and actually, in the world, achieve more of these screening colonoscopies. So I hope they continue to develop that. I know that major hospitals are already using it, but ask for it. This is the thing. All these equipments, technologies, and all that. If it's not in your hospital, it's not because it's not available. It's because that particular hospital has not had the need for. But if you actually request it, you can actually get what you want. It's just you have to push for that.
And so this is equipment for regular colonoscopy screenings, or this is equipment for, is that what you're referencing, Shibazam?
Yeah. So basically, it isn't just for. So this is it's basically a screening colonoscopy in a pill, the
Oh, nice.
size of the size of a large pill. And so, yeah, you just swallow with water, and you have a device, like a camera that's close to you. And what it does, it literally sends these images or video Bluetooth to that device, which then you can actually view the entire section, which is anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, yourself, or it goes directly to the medical provider. So it's pretty neat, because it helps not just in that, but GERD, all these other
GI
gastrointestinal.
stuff.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially, for example, you had mentioned, about your cancer. You're right. For women, it's very, very. It attacks, in my opinion, in what I've seen, it feels like it attacks women faster, especially because it does go into your ovaries. It actually will
Mm-hmm.
also lead to your pancreas, which
Yeah.
leads to your ERCP procedure, which is the bile duct, or going into the biliary tree. That one is extremely delicate procedure. It's like you almost doing like brain surgery. If you have cancer in your pancreas or any issues there, uh, yeah, you're gonna require a gastro or like a advanced gastroenterologist. ERCPs are one of the hardest things. So imagine you have to go through your mouth, obviously, and you go into your stomach, and then you have to look for this area, utilizing a scope that's actually what do you call it? Like it's like taking X-ray from the inside, because there is no
Interesting.
hole. Yeah, you have to find this section, and if you're not familiar and you cut in the wrong location, you're dead. As simple as that. So it's very invasive when it comes to leaving it for the third, fourth stage. It could literally go almost anywhere. Your pituitary gland, could spread it to your brain. So
Yeah.
that's why it's very important for everyone to get a screening colonoscopy. And if you do not want to go through that, then request for a pill cam. They're available. I know that we just got them in Kaiser. They're all over the military. I know Molina Medical has them, and so many.
Oh, you guys got him at Kaiser in California? Because that's where I
Yeah.
worked for 20 years. I
Oh,
worked in the Northwest. Yeah.
so it's funny. I was going to be the director for the one of the biggest Kaisers in Fontana, actually California. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to take that because, anyways, that's a different topic.
Yeah, that's a different topic. But no, that's pretty cool to know that there's a pill now. And if the invasive procedure is something that is a barrier to someone receiving a colonoscopy, then by all means, go for it. If that's something that they would feel more comfortable with. And one thing that I credit my colorectal surgeon for is he was very reassuring in the beginning. Of course, I told him my mom's story and her history, and he said, "You know what? We know so much more about colorectal cancer now than when your mom had it in 1995." And she, you know what? It was around that time that Lynch syndrome was even first discovered. So that genetic mutation, I have questions about that. I have questions about what is it in epigenetics that turns on and off these genes that cause these mismatch repairs and cause such a high rate of colon cancer in people with Lynch syndrome. Those are some deep questions that I have. The question, the answers to those, we'll know more in time, but the lifestyle is definitely lifestyle, I believe, makes a big difference. Absolutely. But he was reassuring in that we know so much more. The surgical approach to colorectal cancer is such that a lot of people don't need colostomy bags anymore. But even those have advanced. So I was reassured, and I knew I was in good hands with my colorectal surgeon. Uh, so I do feel I always felt secure about that for sure. The one thing I do want to say, Shiva Zam, is about the colonoscopies, though. I did have a bad reaction to the fentanyl that I was given, and it was in the summer of 2021, and that's what led me to my mental health crisis,
Yeah.
and
And to,
exacerbated some things. So this last procedure, I requested propofol, which is what I was given before. So I do want people to be cautious about fentanyl. Um, that is a topic for another time on mental health. I do hold some spaces where I discuss some of the negative effects that fentanyl had on me, and I'm very cautious about that. But if anyone is ever concerned about fentanyl, you can request other anesthesia. And the providers need to be trained on using propofol. One thing I have to say for my colorectal surgeon is that because of my mental health story, that has helped motivate him to. This year, he went in to train on how to use different anesthesia other than fentanyl. So I'm grateful for that. But I do want to caution people to not just to be cautious about that. Just be careful.
hey, Rigel, and actually, since you brought in the topic about fentanyl and Versed, one of the side effects that you guys may not be aware of that happens in the procedure, this is actually the truth serum for those people that don't know. So the truth serum was developed with Versed and fentanyl. And so basically yeah, so when you guys think you're asleep, you guys are recanting what you guys did the night before or some sort of weird, crazy event in your life. Trust me, I've heard the stories. And it is crazy because you guys it will literally say it like if you're like living it at that moment. It is crazy. But yeah, so Dilaudid has been also used in place, for fentanyl. Propofol, you need to make sure you got an anesthesiologist doing that and not just your regular provider. Otherwise, that could be even much worse than fentanyl. That there's a reason why they call it God's nectar. So even
Yeah,
that
I went under this time.
even that one you got to be very careful. It could put you in respiratory distress immediately. Like you will stop breathing and you.
Okay. Okay. We want people to go to their appointments,
Oh
Shiva
yeah,
Sam.
sorry. Pill
But
cams, pill
hopefully,
cams.
but these are all very important questions because not every healthcare system is the same. Not everybody has access to the same healthcare. Not everybody has the same structure as Kaiser. So these are important things to bring up.
Yeah,
It is.
and by the way, you are your own spokesperson. If you don't want something done, even when it comes to the Mobi prep, there are other preps, by the way. Don't go with what they give you. And I'm gonna tell you up front, in the hospital, this is the way things work. We start from the very cheapest. So, like, we don't want to spend more than $100 on your care. And if that doesn't do it, it goes to the second tier, then the third tier. But you guys could actually make it, how do I say it, move faster and I hate to say this, but lie about your condition. Make it seem it's worse than what it really is, because you have to push for your own, health. And sometimes, and unfortunately, because they're so busy, nurses tend to not always manage the triage section that well. And so you need to push yourself out there because by the
This is
time
why
it gets to the provider, we don't know. We just know what the nurses or who are the intake people, write down. So if you guys push yourself, out there that you feel this certain way, you have a history, then you're really pushing the doctor to check all the marks that he needs to now fill. Otherwise, he becomes liable.
Well, that's a really important topic as well because it's important to have patient advocates. And I was pushing for patient advocates in the Northwest when I was working there. Up until a year ago, I worked in several different positions within that organization, and patient advocates can help with that. They can help be a support system, and for more health. First of all, this is a whole another topic as well because we need to restructure our entire healthcare system. It is far more about money than it is about people. And if you're not getting the best care because of some sort of financial deficit, then that's the wrong approach to care. Period. And there are ways to revolutionize that, but that's another topic for another time. What I do want people to know is if you do need resources for screenings, the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, their handle on Twitter is @CC Alliance. They have resources in every state for colorectal cancer screenings. So if you guys do need access to resources, there are people doing that work. And they also, I have to sing their praises because they reached out to me and offered me a buddy to talk to. They offered me support as far as, just making sure that I knew I wasn't alone. And even with all that outreach, you can feel alone, but it's really nice to have the outreach in case you change your mind and you want to talk to someone about it. Having that offered was a really big deal.
All right. Wow. That was a wealth of knowledge there. I'm glad we're recording this space.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Me too. I'm thinking the
yeah.
same. I never heard of a screening in a pill, the Scott Cap test, which has two tiny cameras, or that the fentanyl is the true serum. I noted down even the recorded even the
And that
space is
propofol is the
recorded,
God
and
nectar. Is that what you called it, Shiva Zam?
so yeah, good information.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
the truth serum actually. It really is the Versate and fentanyl.
That's interesting. And then you said the propofol is what? God's nectar? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, so everyone when we're doing procedures or when we're in the surgery table, there's always nicknames for everything that we kind of utilize, and the
Sure.
ongoing joke with propofol is like, "Hey, did you finish that? Did you finish God's nectar?" And so the reason why they ask this is because you're supposed to pour that into a cactus, because believe it or not, yeah, it's called a cactus, yeah. And believe it or not, people will actually try to milk that out and
Oh my
and keep it
God.
because all you need is just a little bit, and I guess for those
And then
that
you're
enjoy
and then you're
that.
then you're time traveling. Well,
Oh
here's
yeah,
the thing about that.
you're in outer space.
I traveled through 7 dimensions, or I saw 7 dimensions and traveled through 4. That's another story for another time. But I also almost didn't come back. I had to relearn words. I was literally brain damaged when I came out of that conscious sedation procedure. And if my husband wasn't so medically trained, and I should have been hospitalized in a mental facility. But and I'm bringing this up because this is important. It's not just getting over recovering from cancer. Cancer is also about mental health for a lot of people. It can be very traumatic. It can bring up a lot of traumatic experiences, like, all the stuff that I went through after my mom passed away and while she was receiving treatment and watching her suffer. And it doesn't just stop with the cancer for a lot of people. There's a lot of mental gathering that has to happen, like for a lot of people, depending on the person. Everyone's different, but it's more than just about cancer. It's about how are you recovering from it afterward. I lost my job. It was a lot to recover from than just the medical part.
I hear you, Rigel. You're a very strong survivor. I'm glad you're here to share this story with us. We really appreciate it. We'll just take
Well,
a couple seconds. Oh yeah, go ahead, Rigel.
oh no, thank you. I appreciate it. These talks are going to be emotional, but if my story
Yeah.
can help someone else, then it's worth it. If my story can save someone else's life, then it's worth telling. And I'm stronger now. I'm very fortunate that I've had a lot of support. from my husband, I've had a lot of support. My family, I love my family very much, but these types of things can cause divisions within families as well. It's not that my family wasn't supportive. I mean, we all experienced our mother's death. Everyone experiences death differently as well, but not everybody knows how to provide follow-up support in certain ways. There can be divisions based on how you live your life. There could be religious divisions in how you approach your care. These are real things that a lot of people face based on their spirituality. And if you have a strong faith and grow up in a strong culture. But what I'd like to see is for medical care to continue to advance into a more holistic state so that there are more options. You know, if somebody chooses one option over another, it's their choice. You know, I want there to be more choices and more plant-based care. But those are topics that will develop over time. But yeah, you know, if my story, it's worth the tears. It's worth the tears if my story can help someone else.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Like I said, um, yeah, it's very important that we have these conversations. You know, it's this topic doesn't get talked about very much. You know, people don't like to talk about it. They try to stay away from it for as long as they can, and it's tough. It's very tough to have this conversation, but I'm glad that we're having it. I'm glad you're here,
Yeah.
Rigel.
Yes. So, you know, providing more support to cancer warriors and cancer survivors is definitely an important cause. Tutti Frutti Women. I mean, it's not like my family didn't help me. It's not like that at all. I mean, my sister came in and she deep cleaned my house for me after my first surgery. And, you know, I couldn't afford my house anymore where I was living in Portland. So, you know, I had to stay with friends and family for my second procedure. And, you know, it's not like people weren't there, but a lot of people just don't know what to do afterward for someone, you know. So, again, Ad Rock, like you're saying, it's important to have these conversations. You know, sometimes just cleaning somebody's bathroom or cleaning out their refrigerator, vacuuming, you know, doing those basic things, everyday things that fall by the wayside when you're recovering, but that are also really important because you want your home. I don't believe in pure sanitization, but it is important to have your house deep cleaned at certain times, and after a surgery is one of them. So if you're able to have that support, that'd be great. But patient advocates and conflict resolution students and patient advocates could help with those types of services and filling in that gap. And so I'd like to see, you know, something like that develop over time as well. And it is in my scope. It's on my list of things to do now that I'm not dead. But I'm excited for the future because I was brought to Web3. You know, I'm able to see all these different parts of life now that I didn't see before because I was, you know, stuck in front of a monitor at work all the time. And I knew I would eventually leave my job and do something different, but I didn't expect it to happen this way. But I'm here now, and all the support that I found on Web3 and all the opportunities and the amazing growth happening through Web3 and look at all the amazing programs that we could create and help support others with, you know, look at Andrea. She's like on the other side of the world. And here she is helping out, you know, doing everything she can to support me as a cancer survivor. So the future is bright, and I'm still optimistic. I have with my underlying bipolar stuff that the fentanyl exacerbated. That's a different approach, but I'm still excited for the future. Let's make the world better, right? Through all these conversations and actions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to highlight, you know, all the people who go through this stuff without any support. You know, look at all the people in the world who are wandering around lost and don't have the support of loved ones. Those are the people I really think about when I'm having a tough day.
Absolutely, Rigel. Hey, I did post something on top there so that if you guys wanted to learn a little bit more as to what a pill cam is, I did post that up there so that you guys could, read into it a little bit more.
I don't see it up there, but it might just be me.
I see it on mine. Does anyone else see this? Where it says most curable cancer? It's the first one.
I can see it. It's there.
Yeah. So if you click on it, there's going to be an image, and you see. Do you see the pill cam?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, I do. That's crazy.
There
That's
you go.
so cool. Look at these advancements that we have. I mean, someday we might just have something scan us and we're done, like Star Trek style, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and this one I'm proud to say that I was a part of, and it was done at military facility at Fort Belper and Walter Reed. So pretty cool.
Wow. Thank you, Shibazam. That's so cool. I'm glad you came on tonight or today and to support and provide all this technical medical information. It's important.
Oh, no problem. Plus, I've been a little bit busy for Tutti Frutti. I owe you one, so we'll talk later on today. Okay? Sorry.
And no worries. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I just want to say a quick hi to everybody else that's joined since we
I'm
started.
just gonna step up and say hi.
Yeah, what's up, John?
Nothing to contribute. Probably more intuitive, just listening. But I just wanted to say hi, and I think you're doing an amazing job there, Tutti Frutti for the women, and Shibazam for all you do and contribute to everyone's growth and space. And I think that sometime is all I can offer. I've seen and heard and spoken to many women that I am aware that I've been around that have had when you say different various forms of cancer. Few have passed away and few are still struggling. And I think I mentioned one time a very personal friend who's happens to be a pediatrician that went through something very traumatic. And I brought up the same thing for the ladies, the younger ladies that that we come across on space and so forth. And like you said, the early screening is the only asset you have that you can truly combat anything of this nature. And then what happens after the screening is traumatic in itself. From everyone I've ever spoken to, is dealing with the aftermath of the results that you did not even can't even prepare yourself. So as a man, we can't necessarily say we can empathize because we'll never go through it. And so I think a lot of it is the support that Rigel mentioned. Sheba Zam said, talk about early detection. And I'll give you my personal, I chose not to do any of the colon tests, and I'm 55 this year. I act like I'm 25 most of the time. But, I've consulted my, I know, right? I consulted my personal, not pediatrician, but he's a neurologist and an operating neurosurgeon here that was my ex-partner. He's like a father to me. And he said, no, you're a pretty healthy specimen by all nature. So you do what you feel is good for you, which is the first time when I consult a doctor, because everyone wants to pressure you to go into screening. But there are some basic stuff you need to be aware of. And a lot of that, too, is just awareness. And it's a personal choice. I, by all nature, are pretty damn healthy for my age. So therefore, it's hard for me to want to do something. Maybe I don't need to know. Maybe I don't want to know. But I've had no one in my family has had cancer. Both my parents passed away for various reasons. I don't know my biological father. So the only father I know passed away because he smoked, just cigarette all his life. So he died of lung cancer. My mother died at 58 in a car accident, and she was healthy by all nature. She walks like 3 to 5 miles a day and kept herself extremely healthy by just her diet. Well, I practice eating very healthy. I've always been holistic in all approaches to everything. So I've never had flu shots. I didn't take the vaccine, and I don't get sick very often. It only lasts 1 to 3 days max. So you can imagine when I talk and consult to a doctor and they say, John, whatever you're doing, don't change. And so even my 30-year physician says the same thing. Whatever you're doing, you only see me once every 5 years. And the only reason I even go to see him every 5 years is to have a full blood panel. I've always come out relatively healthy with just slightly elevated cholesterol. He says, but beyond that, all your blood cell count, everything is phenomenally healthy, and so you don't even have any magnification of white T cells. So he says, whatever you're doing, your body has maintained itself for 50 something years. So I spoke to my own doctor, and he said the same thing. You can take it and for what it's worth. So I always will advocate what you ladies are talking about, especially for the ladies. Now, again, I grew up in a different generation where we don't eat and live by the same lifestyle as everyone's doing throughout the world currently. I think if you're in Europe, meat quality is higher from everything I've heard. I date quite a few European women, and they straight out will tell you the beef, the quality of meat and preservative is so much different than in American culture. They've said this, and you've seen studies. You can take a healthy Japanese, somebody that's eating basically rice and vegetable, you throw in America, within 5 years, they've got all kinds of health issues. And this is a proven fact. So
Yeah.
the choices that we make and the choices of what we put in ingest and what we do every day will magnify the problems we have as we get older. I work out 3 to 5 days a week. I just make it a habit where it's not even something I skip. And I'm not doing to bulk up, to show off or do any of that nature. I just keep myself extremely in good shape. Therefore, at 55, I think most people think, "Oh my God, you act like you're 25." It's because your behavior will channel its own, I call it energy, but you get what you put in, and you get the same thing. So I advocate healthy lifestyle in general. So with that said, though, I will never ever deny that people need to take the time to not only find out if you feel unhealthy, you need to get checked. If you feel like you're not normal and operating at your best optimal, whatever that means to you, absolutely, you need to get checked because something's not operating and it's not happening like it should. So when I say all these things, I'm not the guy that's going to tell you no, but I can tell you what each one of us have to decide for ourselves. Because the one thing I was told by my own physician, two of them, my personal for 30 years, and before he retired, that was 5 years ago. I had a full panel about 8, 9 months ago, and they're amazed that my blood panel, complete. Can you imagine spending $2,400 every 5 years to go a complete blood panel work? And I mean complete. My health insurance paid $2,489, I believe. Most people spend $300 to $1,200 because they don't want to know. Every 5 years, I run a complete panel just to know, and then I decide what I do from there, and then I can consult a physician if I need to. So these are the things that you have to decide for yourself, and that's the problem with the Western culture. They advocate not for longevity, but the continuation of practice. You take that however you want. Your physician will have you coming back every 3 months if they could, because it's a paycheck for them. That's something I'm totally anti. I'm anti-Western medication with all this, just things that they give you that prolong or continues a path of unhealthy practice. So I don't know what the right answer is. I'm not going to be on here in space to tell everyone not to do or do what I do. But I will advocate you got to know your body. You've got to understand when it changes. And whatever that changes means to you, you're the only one that can tell your doctor how you feel. People will always, either tell the truth, tell half truth, or complete utter lies. If you deny what you're feeling, that is also on you. Because if you can't tell someone how you truly feel, how are they going to get to the bottom of the root that causes the way you feel? I'm going to go ahead. Shibazam, go ahead.
Yeah, John, and actually, what you said is really important. The fact that if you live a healthy lifestyle, you bring down the chances of you having cancer. Now, I said chances, keyword, because there's two other aspects that we need to also account: environmental and genetic. And unfortunately, because of how our environment, our food, and all that we do or have done for the last 100 years has, or even more than that, has already sequenced or mutated a whole lot of our
Yeah.
genetic sequences. And
It ha-
so, therefore, regardless of how healthy you are, you will have to still be checked. And I'm gonna give. Is it okay if I say a brief story as an example as to why it's important?
yeah. And then I'll take over after that.
Okay, so so basically there was this. I was in the military, and I was serving under a general who does ERCPs, and he brought in his priest and his wife to a procedure that he was personally going to do because he's the family, priest. And so he wasn't looking too well, and so the wife was pushing him to get this done. So as a token of, like, him getting it, she was going to get it too. So, we start the procedure, and we found a tumor on the priest, which was, we were able to actually retrieve it right then and there. We cut it, we used a sclera needle, and then we cauterized it with the herb, and then, long story short, he was done. And so we tested it, it wasn't cancerous. And then as we go on to, the wife, who was the healthy one, no pain, no issues, nothing, was, we did her, we call it a double. We did an EGD, and we did a colonoscopy. And as, we were going through the colon, we got to the sigmoid, and actually, no, it was a transverse, yeah, the transverse colon, yeah. And we just saw the worst cancer spread ever. Like, it was already to the point where, honestly, if you had touched it barely, the colon, I mean, that would just open up, and then you end up with sepsis and so much worse. So, the long story short, what I'm trying to get at is she never had any sort of symptoms, and she was always healthy, and she was pushing the husband, who was just suffering from abdominal pain, constant diarrhea, and some other things like that. So where I'm getting at is, you never know who is the sickest person next to you. It might be you, or it might be the person taking you. So my recommendation is, at the very least, try things that are non-invasive, that, because a lot of people don't want to get, something put on their, or, what I mean. And so maybe a pill could be something. Now, that doesn't mean that you take a pill and if you have cancer, you're good to go. No, that means that now they know for a fact you have cancer, and now, or something that they could target directly. And so they'll be prepared for it. So that's what that is.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, you know what? It's about options, right? John prefers one option, and someone else could prefer another option. You can choose to live the way you want to live, or approach it how you want to approach it. But systemically, the way that we have healthcare currently set up, people like John pay for care for people like me. So thank you, John, for being healthy. And then there's also the preventative care. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we live such a fast-paced lifestyle that we often don't slow down enough to take care of our bodies. And women, yes, I'm talking to women especially, we have a tendency to take care of everybody else around us and not give ourselves the attention that we need, or hold the conversations that need to be held. I'm finding people don't want to talk about colorectal cancer. People are scared to talk about menopause and how estrogen affects our lives and mental health. People are afraid to talk about, a lot of these things, which is why I'm bringing it up. If our kids, our kids are growing up with gore and sex and all kinds of stuff all over the place, but we're scared to talk about colorectal cancer. There's something wrong with that. So we're getting it younger and younger. And John, where it comes to lifestyle, I truly believe that sedentary lifestyles are likely contributing to the epigenetic factor, what's turning on and off these genes. We're gaming a lot these days. We're sitting on our computers a lot these days. Hopefully we're getting into the phase of Web3 where we're making the work for us in our lifestyle, instead of feeling like we have to change our lifestyle for our work. And this is coming from someone who worked in a healthcare organization for like 20 years that claims to be one of the best employers, but also didn't offer a gym or a place for their employees to work out. we need to be holding our organizations more accountable for having, outlets for us at work for healthy jobs. Look at all the call center jobs where people, are chained to their desks, basically like the poor chickens that we see raised. The people are constantly, there are activists that are upset about how chickens are being treated, and here we are chained to our desks all the time. So I do believe that a sedentary lifestyle has a lot to do with it, and we'll find that eventually in time. But we need to talk about these things so that it's not so scary, so that our kids aren't afraid to go get screenings or talk about it. If someone chooses not to know, that's okay. That's their choice. Not everyone approaches healthcare the same way, but to have the options and to have more plant-based care and more holistic care, that we really need to change how healthcare is approached and perceived and delivered in our world, not just in America.
Yeah, and don't mistaken, the words that I'm, advocating. I think healthy lifestyle is the message. I cook
Yes,
because I
yes.
haven't been in Southern Cal 5 weeks, but I find myself doing healthier when I'm home. When I'm gone 3 days a week, it's my cheat days. Then I don't have a choice. I'm eating out 3 meals a day, sometimes only two. I limit myself to mostly 2 meals a day when I'm out and traveling. And then I'm really selective about where and who I eat. I can't do fast food. It's just I'm adamant.
Who you
Every
eat?
now and then,
What?
uh, you know, it's a perfect example. The other day, and we've got a family. I call it my work family of four. You can go to McDonald's, Burger King, wherever, Jack in the Box for a meal of four. You're almost $50-$60 to feed four people, right? So I
True.
said, look, if we're gonna have to do this, I'm gonna do an experiment. Everyone thought, no, this sounds like a lot of work. I said, okay, let me show you how easy it is. You go down to their grocery store, you go to Costco and pick up a roasted chicken for $4.99 to $6.99, right? You slice that sucker in four, and you I don't do bread very often, so you can get rolls and you get an avocado, some tomatoes, and by the time you get done, you fed a family of four for less than $15. And it's so much
Yeah.
healthier because I'm an advocate of avocado for the healthy fats. I do
Mm-hmm.
my coconut oil with everything, my oatmeal in the morning. I do
Nice.
a diet of oatmeal every day at 9 after working out. So I get my energy till 2 o'clock. I eat a big healthy lunch and I skip dinner sometimes. It's intermittent fasting. But you know what? I keep my weight level down to about 150 lean pounds at 5'7". So when I say that, I'm 55. Most people don't stay this healthy because they don't focus on it. And then for, like you mentioned, if you are advocating that an employer has to provide certain things, well, the question is, you can go to Planet Fitness for $12 a month, and that's all it takes. And you can go to the gym. I do that. I go 3 days a week where I go there for my leg workout, my squats and so forth, because I don't have a squat rack at home. But I have a set of dumbbells and a bench that I can do everything else from home if I choose to, including, deadlifts with 40 pounds on each side and deadlifts at home. So there's so many things that we can take active participation for our own general well-being,
Oh,
mentally
absolutely.
and
But
physically.
you know what,
So,
John? When I'm working 16-hour shifts in a row at a hospital, I need a fucking gym to work out in. Okay.
oh no, I'm not saying that what you're asking is abnormal. I'm just advocating that you can take initiative to maintain your own well-being, and this is
Oh,
just me
absolutely.
giving the opposite side of what everybody advocate. The employer has to provide, the government has to provide. What about you doing and taking initiative to maintain your own personal health? And a lot of that has to do with what you ingest. And so when
Yes.
I have these discussions, again, I surround myself with nurses and doctors personally. I have quite a few friends that are nurses and doctors and PAs. So when I consult them in these things, they go, John, whatever you're doing, keep doing, because the less times you go visit a doctor for the need of that. And like I said, every 3 to 5 years, if I feel I need it, I do a complete panel, and every time it comes back the same. They go, John, mine is a little elevated cholesterol because you're not working out. You're not running, getting your that level up, but just get on a treadmill instead of just working out and doing what you do. Because when I'm at auto auction 1 or 2 days a week, I walk 10 miles a day once a week. So I hustle. So when I say that, these are the behaviors that we got to look at. If we're going to go into
Absolutely.
holistic health, we have to first analyze what we currently do. The sedentary lifestyle that you mentioned, it's your own choice, and sometimes it isn't your choice, but you've got to make time to take care of yourself. You can't expect society to do everything, including the healthcare. Healthcare is not there for your welfare. Let's get that straight. And I am a personal advocate of healthcare is not about your welfare. It's to put you in the hospital. It's to put you into the physician's lab every couple months, every 6 months, every year. That's why they advocate these things. How is it that a guy like me can maintain it and do my blood panel and it comes out healthy every 5 years religiously? It's because your personal choice would dictate what might happen to you. And that includes what you ingest. And so you have to look at your diet. If nothing, I've been working out all my life. I was an athlete since I was a child. Played tennis, soccer, and volleyball, and you name it until the time I couldn't. And even now, I tell people all the time, get out there, see the greenery, see the trees, see the grass, but get out and get some sunshine. Just getting vitamin D alone will bring a healthier lifestyle than if you just never went outside. If you don't eat healthy and you don't live a healthy lifestyle, what can you do? You're going to have to take more Western med approach, which means it's a cure-all for everything. They can diagnose you and give you this, diagnose that, and give you more meds, and then give you. My ex-wife used to take 12 different pills 2 times a day, and she wants to know why she's so damn unhealthy. I tell the same thing because you call me Dr. Quack, but you watch me go through these behavior, and I am 10 times healthier than she is, and she's 8 years younger than I am. But I'm raising my daughter to be different. She's athletic. She's got, she's getting straight A's. It's because it's the manifestation that us parents have to take responsibility for when we raise our children. So these are the things that are important to me. And I only say these things for me. Again, I don't advocate this for everyone, because if you're not doing and living a healthy lifestyle, how do you expect it to be anything different for you? All right.
Yeah. And then you have those people who do everything right and still get cancer. You know what I'm definitely agreeing with what you're saying, John. And what the choices that we make on a daily basis still matter. You know what? Even if I didn't have Lynch syndrome and didn't test positive for Lynch syndrome and had this colon cancer stuff, it could have been something else. What if I wasn't taking care of myself and I had diabetes, or I wasn't taking care, and I wasn't. I was taking care of the people around me. And I've posted about that before, how, especially as a woman, at first I blamed all my abdominal pain and nausea on my IBS. I was severely exhausted all the time, which I was blaming on my night shift and not sleeping very much because of all that. Then I was drenched in sweat. I was constantly nauseated during my workouts. I couldn't even finish a workout. That's the point that I was getting to, where I was dizzy. I had blood in my stool. All of those factors, granted, I knew I had an upcoming regular screening, but I still didn't prioritize my own health. So yes, you're right. We have to live a life. We need to demand a slower lifestyle where we're able to focus more on our bodies and what we need. Go ahead, Shibazam. And Sabo, you're next.
I'll keep it short, Sabo. That way you can come in. But actually, I just want to recommend a documentary called Food Matters. It's actually really interesting because you truly are what you eat. On top of that, obviously, exercise and nutrition. So actually, this keyword nutrition. So the practice of medicine, to become a doctor, it all started as a practice of nutrition. So you didn't go to the doctor to get a pill. You went to the doctor to learn nutrition. You would basically learn how to eat so that you could fortify your body, and in terms of illnesses. So for example, say, I don't know, you had a cold, you would consume this kind of fruit that's higher in vitamin C, organic, that kind of stuff. So that was the method or the practice of medicine, and that's how it should have remained. But because everything became a business, hence why I chose not to accept the director position at Kaiser Permanente, because they moved from preventive care to all about their pockets. When they changed that in 2021, I believe, I said, hell, fuck no, because that was all about innovation, bringing new techniques, preventing all sorts of things, because that's what I was learning at Fort Belvoir and Walter Reed. So
you prevented yourself a whole lot of stress illnesses too.
Exactly. And so when that wasn't allowed, I said no, I don't. That's not where I stand. So I left. But yeah, I just wanted to bring those those points up. That food matters. Really good documentary, and
Well, what is the documentary called? Can you post it?
sure, I'll find it and I'll post it right now. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, we talked yesterday in my philosophy space about Hippocrates, and he was a physician, a Greek physician, and if you've ever heard the quote, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food." That's where that came from. I'm convinced his wife said it, and he gets credit for it.
That's one of
She
the
was
oaths
probably the
that
one
you.
planting the garden.
Well, that's one of the oaths that you take when you go and do the board exam. Actually, so yeah, very familiar.
Yes. So this is good timing to bring that up. Yeah, because it's true. The choices that we make in our food make a big difference. Hey, Sabo, what you got?
Yeah, so I just want to read some facts about avocados. How much pollution does an avocado produce? Carbon Footprint Limited estimates that two small avocados in a packet has a CO2 footprint of 846.36 grams, almost twice the amount of a kilo of bananas. Due to the production of avocados in Central and Southern Africa, the fruit travels long distances in order to reach consumers in the global north. Do avocados destroy the rainforest? By some estimates, as much as 20,000 acres of forest, the area of more than 15,000 American football fields, are cut down each year and replaced with avocado plantations. I suggest that you do not eat avocados. They might be good for you, but you can get your nutrients locally from your locally grocery store. Thanks.
That is so awesome, Sabo. Thank you for bringing that up. You know what? If we're talking about holistic care, what happens in our environment makes a big difference. Here's something for you guys to chew on. In college, I wrote a report about the Environmental Protection Agency. When the Environmental Protection Agency was first established in the 1940s, there were about 400,000 chemicals that were grandfathered in as acceptable, despite their risk of danger. That's something to think about. This is how far some of this goes. So in the 1940s, our government allowed hundreds of thousands of dangerous chemicals to be grandfathered in as safe because they were being used commercially. That's pretty messed up. And we need to go back. Yeah, these are all different types. So Shibazam, when you're talking about how we have chemicals in our environment that are affecting our genetics, it's because they are affecting us. They are in our environment on the cellular level, and that includes plastics. Plastics are in our air, they're in our soil, they're being transferred into the DNA of our food. So all of these environmental factors are a big deal. We have like 1,000 different spaces we could do on the topics of today, but that holistic care matters. So thanks for bringing the environmental factors up, Sabo. Amber.
Oh, hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Well, I was wanting to speak on something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. A while back, my father, he passed away from melanoma cancer, and that's one of the most preventable yet deadly forms of cancer. And I would like to emphasize the importance on skincare cancer screenings. There's a number of things to look out for with your moles, and that would be signs of melanoma. And it's the A, B, C, D, and E's of, melanoma cancer signs. So that would be asymmetry. It is one half of the mole. If it doesn't match the other half, that would be a sign. The border, moles, edges looking ragged or blurred, color, uneven coloring, diameter, anything larger than 0.25 inches, or evolving, the changing size, shape, or color. Early skin cancer screenings are so important get your moles checked. Another thing that's great is to wear sunscreen. Wear protective clothing, you know, if you're going to spend a lot of time in the sun instead of leaving your arms bare, and you know, spend time in the shade. Tanning booths, those greatly increase your risk for skin cancer. So that's something I advocate avoiding.
They sure do. Yep. I've written a report on that too, Amber. Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, I know it's great to get some time in the sun, but limit your time that you spend in the full sun, you know, so try to get in the shade. But the most important thing is to check with your provider at your annual screenings, or, you know, you could go in and see a dermatologist just to get everything looked at and make sure, you know, nothing's going on. And I personally have gone in and had my moles checked, and I've had some precancerous moles removed. And so, you know, had I not had those checked out, that potentially could have developed into something. So especially if you have like the family, well, for anything, if there's that family history, you know, advocate for yourself and let your physicians know, because maybe you need to be screened for some of those things. But all right, that was my
That's great. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, family history can play a big role in cancer. And I love that you brought that up, because you know, one can lead to the other. And I'm a big proponent of Rick Simpson oil. I used a 5-tiered cannabis plan for managing my pain during my cancer journey. And I do believe it truly helped me. My husband is predisposed to skin cancer, and we actually put Rick Simpson oil, which is like a cannabis oil, topically on his skin cancers, and they go away. They heal.
Oh, wow.
And his doctors are like, oh my gosh, you know. And he's very healthy. He's much older than I am, Johnny. Well, you and I have discussed this, and he's the same. He takes a lot of preventative measures when he cares for himself, and he's been extremely active his whole life. He's actually much older than I am, and you would never know, because his energy level is so high. And he cares for himself so well. But yeah, Amber, RSO, that's something I definitely recommend, is topical Rick Simpson oil. You can also ingest it, but if you put it on your skin cancer or eczema or whatever, even acne scars, it's amazing. So there's so much plant-based energy that we're not tapping into properly right now. So anyway, yeah, thank you so much.
That's amazing. Oh, and I thought of one more thing. In you know, one place that's often missed is something like between the toes, and actually they said that that's actually one spot where a lot of people do get skin cancer is in places that you would maybe miss, or say on your back, because you don't look at your back all the time. So right. You know, maybe look in the mirror and see if anything, like, or really dark colored moles, you know, that would be another sign too. But well, thank you for letting me speak today. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Amber, for showing and for sharing with us. And as a matter of fact, in May is Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and I would love to have you in the space then.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you too.
All right, so I just want to give a reminder, let everybody know a lot of people weren't here right at the beginning. So we are having this great conversation, and but we also have something else going on. Andrea is doing a giveaway, so somebody in this space is going to win a Tutti Frutti NFT. Let's go! Yep. So all you got to do is go down to the chat bubble, the comment bubble, like and quote the space, and use the hashtag. What's the hashtag, Andrea?
Colon cancer awareness ad rock. Colon cancer awareness without the ad rock, okay?
Yeah. Colon cancer awareness. So quote the space and use that hashtag, and that's going to get you into the giveaway for a Tutti Frutti woman. So if you don't have one, this is your chance. They're awesome NFTs and obviously an awesome cause. So let's go. I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, we're an hour 15 in. Lots of good information. Answered lots of questions. So probably most of.
Thank you everybody for being here. This is so cool. What a great
Yeah,
conversation we're having today.
absolutely. We should do this more often. Yeah. It's Andrea, are you planning on doing this space once a month?
Actually, it will not be only once a month because, for example, next month there are 3 types of cancer. Testicular cancer awareness, it's for April, right? Head and neck cancer awareness. And there is another type of cancer, I cannot pronounce it. Esophagean or something like this. I don't know if I pronounce it well.
Esophageal.
Okay. So this means it will be 3 spaces, hopefully.
All right. Well, that's awesome. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying the space, as I think you are, as it looks like, yeah, there'll be more. So stay tuned for that.
Are there any questions we haven't answered yet, Andrea?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I think we've probably answered most of them by now, but we could probably still like highlight a couple so everybody gets some good information. So yeah, one thing where what was it? So yeah, you probably I'm sure Rigel, you have said something about this, but just to go back over it a little bit again. As a cancer survivor, what advice would you give to those who may be going through a similar experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of people feel really alone when they're going through all this, but you're not alone. You feel alone, but you're not alone. This might be a good time to start exploring, if you're feeling isolated, some support groups through social media. I'm not a super huge social media proponent, and I wasn't until I actually didn't really have any social media until I started marketing research on Twitter and then found all of you amazing people that the universe sent to me. But start reaching out if you do feel alone. There are groups out there. Financially, if you need help with finances, there's a website I recently found called cancer.net, and they do help with some financial aspects of your recovery. There are some things that I wish I would have known about, but don't be afraid to speak out and reach out to the people that are around you. And for our care, for anyone who wants to support a cancer survivor, like doing those everyday things is really helpful. Walk their dog, help them with take out their garbage. Let people around your neighborhood know you're willing to help somehow. But do those early screenings. Just try to make healthy lifestyle choices. If there were anything that I could say, stress. Oh my gosh, the stress that we allow to infiltrate our lives based on the fast-paced lifestyle that we live, I think is the greatest danger to any of us because it keeps us from paying attention. So if you can slow down your life, and like John was saying before, really try to listen to your body. Try to listen to, what's not normal and what is normal. And if you could abstain from alcohol as much as possible, that is one simple thing that leads to a lot of problems. Not only because of addiction issues and that it could become a crutch. But the fact that alcohol creates so much inflammation in our bodies, that can lead to a lot of different cancers. And one, we know it's linked to colon cancer. We know, or colorectal cancer, because it could be anal or rectal cancer as well. We know that it leads to breast cancer. We know that it leads to liver problems. So if there were anything that I could say to help prevent cancer, is all of those stressors, the sugars, the alcohols, the stress. Increasing your cortisol levels through stress can cause a lot of, can send a lot of stress signals to your body. So reducing that stress somehow, some way, we need to do that for our entire world.
Absolutely. Let's get rid of the stress. I could use less stress, that's for sure. All right. So, yeah. Another good question I think we have is, I like this Twitter space is obviously good. Got a bunch of people in here that want to join the conversation. So, I think we're doing good at spreading awareness. But Rigel, you have any other suggestions of how the community could spread awareness for colon cancer prevention and early detection?
Yeah, don't be so scared to talk about it. We see, look at all the stuff that people watch on TV now, and we can't talk about colorectal cancer. I mean, come on. We got to get over that. We got to get over that. It's
Absolutely.
It has to be an embarrassing topic, the way that it's brought up, but it's important to be able to have these conversations with your kids and not be afraid to talk about colorectal cancer. And yeah, should all wear a t-shirt that says I'm a colorectal cancer survivor? That's fine. If it opens up the conversation and somebody has questions and as if it wants to know what kind of, like my brother was asking you, well, what do you mean? What kind of blood in your stool? That's a really good question, right? Shebazam, what kind of blood is in your stool? Is it like fresh?
Coffee grounds, fresh. Yeah, so if it's literally like fresh, that means it's very close to your, to the end of your
Yeah, it
area.
could be hemorrhoid bleeding,
Yeah, it could be, or it could also be something within the first, say, 10 centimeters, or actually up to 20 centimeters. It'll still show reddish. If it starts turning, I mean, live red. If it starts turning like darker color, then that could be your stomach. So if it looks like coffee grounds, that's your stomach. So you got issues with your stomach, and it's just traveling down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was when there was actually blood in the stool itself. Like it was incorporated in the stool. That's what was the big red flag for me. The flank pain, the side pain, because mine was in my sigmoid area, which is like that lower intestinal or that lower colon area.
Going towards the ileocecal valve.
Yes. And so I actually had a ileoanastomosis is the procedure that I had done. So there's that J pouch there, which, you have to be careful about motility. But what I'm adjusting to is it's real. And I do, have some chronic problems because of the surgeries, but I'm alive and a lot of people aren't. My mom didn't live this long. And, a lot of people, because they don't catch it early, because they're not paying attention, they don't live this long. So yeah, let's talk about it. Don't be scared.
One last thing I wanted to mention is that, remember, we don't have a nervous system in the bowel system in your colon. So therefore, meaning like, how when you get a cut, you get hit, you get punched, you feel pain. You won't feel pain from the colon. You'll feel pressure because, something is deforming or something is accumulating or the areas around it. And so once you start feeling that, that's to the stage where it's already like stage 2 or above, and you should get yourself checked immediately. You don't want to feel anything. That's why we recommend screening colonoscopies, because if you don't feel anything and you go in there to see, and it's not 100% even at that, but for the majority, it would be a good screening colonoscopy, because you'll be there in time if something was to form, especially if there's polyps. This could be retrieved, and then you'll end up having to do a study every 5 years or every year, depending on how your provider wants to do. So just keep up with your provider and make sure that you follow a good diet and everything that he tells you or instructs you.
I would advocate for every 2 to 3 years for family depending on family history. Um, I think because mine
Absolutely.
was so close, it was so close to spreading. Go ahead, Joel.
Hi, guys. First of all, thank you for having me. And I don't know, I came in a little bit late to the space, so I don't know if that was mentioned, but I know that this space is specifically dedicated to the colon cancer today and colon-related cancers. So, in regards to the colonoscopy screening, I just wanted to maybe let everyone know that actually the newest recommendation is age 40 for the first screening. And then for anyone with family history of colon cancer, it's much earlier than that. I believe that it has been lowered to the age of 30 or even earlier, depending on the type of cancer that your close family member has had it and the age that they were diagnosed with. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up to everybody's attention. And then for Shibazam, as far as the gadget that you have produced here with the Medtronic. I'm familiar with that gadget. I also am a medical professional. So that is actually only used for people that do not have any family history in their
Yeah,
family.
and
Because
and
it
that's a,
can
and
miss
that's a good
quite
one.
a
Yeah.
bit of, yeah, it can miss quite a bit of screening. So the preferred way is still the old-fashioned colonoscopy screen.
No,
I'm
yeah,
done.
absolutely. That is the preferred method. The only thing that we were addressing in the military is the fact that because we don't have the volume of people getting screened, it is best to have a measurable data than no data at all. So, meaning if I have 1,000 people get this Medtronic pill cam screening colonoscopy per se, even for the younger demographic, that gives specialists, in the field, more of a of a study field in which they could see, what's developing sooner. Which is, for example, the last 10 years, a lot of the Latino community, the Hispanic community, and Black, Asian communities has started developing this a lot more due to their diets. So that's the reason why when we were developing this in the military, it was for to address not advanced stage, patients that may have history of cancer or anything like that. This is for your regular, average Joe that doesn't have any symptoms but wants to go get seen just in case. And again, this is not in replacement of a screening colonoscopy, the traditional way using a EVIS Xera 180, 190, or a Pentax scope. But it is something that is utilized so that we have more of an impact globally, because there'll be more people that get their studies done, as opposed to the old traditional way that, for example, the majority from 40 and under don't ever get, because of what it entails. So that was the reason behind that. And actually, in terms of studies, it's been 69% successful in actually catching cancers within the last 5 years. So it's actually been a really, really good tool utilized. Now, it's utilized mostly in Europe, in that area, um, more than it is here. It was
Man,
actually,
the Europeans have all the good stuff.
yeah, so
Well, the
they,
Europeans don't have to, deal with
FDA and all these other
FDA,
things.
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, all
Yeah,
of our.
and they hold up a lot of stuff. The Europeans do a lot more advanced and faster things than we do here in the US. So on
And
many different levels.
exactly, they get things passed so much quicker. And Joe, also, if you're familiar with a procedure, colonoscopy or an EGD, if you really think about the concept of what you're really doing with the scope, it is not different at all than what the actual pill cam does. So when you insert a scope through your the mouth or your rectum, It is literally a high definition 1080 camera that is looking through folds and specific areas within, your colon, to identify polyps, or, or if it's already advanced, the actual cancer itself. So in essence, the methodology utilized is still the same. It's just that obviously utilizing a pill cam, you're not going to be able to cut a polyp or do anything like that. But it at least allows for, for example, say you have 100 patients that you've not seen, but you could only schedule 10 a day or maybe less. Well, you could give these 100 patients a pill cam and then only treat the people that have polyps. So you see where the advantage is on this?
Well, I see where the advantage is for the population that is hesitant to get scoped. However, the pill cam can miss an area where it's obscured by stool, unlike the colonoscopy itself, because you do have to have a prep done prior to colonoscopy. And
Oh
even
yeah.
with that, many patients don't do a proper prep for the colonoscopy. But a physician doing the actual colonoscopy is able to rinse that certain areas out and have a additional look in the area of concern, where the pill is just passing through with your gut. And so if you know the
Yeah, they
area
have
is
to have a very
obscured
good
by
prep.
right, exactly. If an area is obscured by a stool, that camera is going to miss it, and that's where your 40% comes in, I
Yeah.
believe.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
and
again, it's better than none.
yeah,
It's a
it's
good
kind of
place
like
to start.
exactly. It's kind of like this
It's a
COVID
good
shot,
place
right?
to start.
We know that it has consequences or it can miss things, but in general, the target area, it actually does um, help that area. And the thing is here, the issue is getting people to get this test done. And so, if we can't get anyone to come in and get a colonoscopy or screening colonoscopy or an AGD, then we have to devise methods, and they may not be 100% effective. But the point that we're trying to make is to get them into the facility. So even if this was 20% effective, the fact that you came into the hospital to get treated for something that you really don't want to do is already a win in the healthcare industry. That's preventive care. That's what we're trying to do.
I can
I agree.
understand, Joel. Go ahead.
I said I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Shibazam, how many people have used the little camera pill? Do you guys have a number? You said a
Yes.
69. Uh-huh.
So I actually do. So that's the reason why we came up with that number. So we performed over 126,000 procedures since 2017 through the last record that I know of, the end of last year, which was November. And out of those, there was a total of 136 cancers found, no deaths, and Crohn's disease, 14 cases. So you see, there's in what I'm reading, this was very successful because first of all, you got that many people in there, whereas before the average was 600. So the fact that you got that many people from 600 to over 100,000, in this span of time, that's already a win in the healthcare industry. Well, at least in the military. And so yeah, so that's been the success rate in that. So it's detected 166 cases of cancer that has been like confirmed. There was 397 cases of polyps that could have been cancerous or could have been formed into cancer down the line, and there was, let's see, 3,962 other cases that so the POCAM found other instances like of diseases as well. So that's the other plus, that it's not so in essence, if you're just not looking for cancer, it could actually detect other illnesses, because the software in itself has think of it like an AI that detects areas within your colon, especially the areas that are most notable for cancer. So, for example, when it gets to the ileocecal valve or the transverse colon or these other areas that have the folds a little more intricate, it actually has that ability, because it has on both angles of the cameras, to actually move around and look and basically like focus more images to a certain area. And so this and again, it's not an effective thing. I'm with Jolt. If I could do screening colonoscopies over this, I would do the screening colonoscopy, traditional way, old school, because at that moment you could take care of the issue right then and there. You could insufflate enough so that you add air and water to clean up areas or folds that you can't do with the pill cam. So she's absolutely right. And the other aspect of a colonoscopy is that now you have tools such as for example, the Olympus Evis Xera 190 has a tool where you could have it next to the patient, and it acts like think of it like a recording device. And you see it on the screen, and what it really does is it moves. It shows how your scope is moving within your transverse colon. Because Jolt will probably tell you some of these providers don't know how to use the scope, and they will literally start stabbing at a fold or something within the colon. And so the typical way to avoid that is you actually add air in there and water to clean up some areas as you're moving the scope, because that part is actually quite it's not as easy as you think. But doing the actual colonoscopy, you'll be addressing everything. So yeah, I'm with Jolt. I would prefer to do that 100 times over than the other, but the point is to get more people into awareness of this type of cancer.
And Shibazam, you are a gastroenterology provider, right?
Yes, so I was in the military. I was a 60G, and I did that for 4 years. I would have done it more, but as a gastroenterologist and on call and as a PA, you're working 18 to 20 hours. And to be honest, with the family and all the things that I do, that was just not conducive for the lifestyle, I guess, that I need to care about, especially with my dad having cancer, prostate cancer, stage 4, metastasized to his brain through his pituitary gland. So that's another type of cancer that's very aggressive that I'm dealing with right now with my dad.
Well, I hope he gets better. And it's proof that our medical providers are pushed to the brink too. Look at how much our medical providers sacrifice all the time to help provide care. And Joel, thank you for being medical provider as well. Shibazam, to you, it's not an easy job. You're relying on people all the time to be honest with you and tell you, to the best of their knowledge what's going on, and with everything going on with COVID. Thank you so much for doing what you do.
Yes, thank you, Shibazam, for being here in this conversation today. I was going to say that we appreciate you. You have a wealth of knowledge and lots of information to share, and you like sharing it. So we appreciate you being here.
I
Andrea,
like the people here, that's why, and I love sharing things that could benefit other people, and so thank you for allowing me to speak, and let's keep this going.
Shibazam,
absolutely.
How much does that pill cam cost when you sell it to healthcare providers?
So it's funny, it's not even that expensive. It's
Few dollars.
I'm sorry, how much?
I'm joking. I said
Oh,
probably not a whole lot. Not a whole
no,
lot.
it's 400 actually. Okay, so the BPA, the blanket purchase agreement between Covidian or Medtronic and say Demos, which is Defense Medical Logistics Services, was $290. So if the military is paying $290, let's just say that it would be half that cost anywhere else. The military always pays so much more. Like for a screw, we'll pay $1,000. I mean, it's just stupid sometimes. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen free store prices at the base. Sorry to say.
well, I mean, if you go to the exchange or the commissary to buy groceries, then yeah, you're not paying taxes and everything is discounted. But outside of that, in the medical field,
Yeah, but it was still expensive. Come
it
on.
still is. Yeah, and we just spent almost $700 last week, and we went there for groceries. I'm like, damn.
I was appalled. I was like, this is what our military servicemen and women pay for groceries on the base? What the hell? Anyway, another space.
Another space.
We need to fix so many things, huh?
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I got into the medical field was because of all the cancers that my family has endured, and most of them had been colon cancer. And so
Wow.
I went in there thinking that, okay, well, if I learned this, then maybe I could help my family, in terms of this, but not realizing that, well, because some of this is genetic, and because some of my stubborn family members don't ever want to go to the doctor, even though they may have one right in front of them, you can't really solve that issue, because it really is up to the individual to want to make that decision of health, to get yourself checked and that kind of stuff. So,
But we can make it more accessible. We can make it more acceptable. We can make it a common thing for those who do want to pursue preventative care. So that's the really cool part. And I sure hope your dad gets better, and as a caregiver for your dad,
Well,
what
this is the thing
kind
is
of support would you like? Mhm.
see, at that stage it's more it's more palliative care. So yeah,
Okay.
because what happens is, so yeah, just like you had mentioned, I believe earlier, about nuking, at your estrogen. Well, he has his testosterone nuked with Lupron, so that it wouldn't spread. But the problem is that it's already too advanced. It's when it got to his brain, he started hemorrhaging from his nose and mouth. And when I say hemorrhaging, you're looking at almost like a pint of blood, like every like 10-15 minutes. So I had to rush him into the hospital. And so they targeted obviously the brain immediately. But it's very aggressive to prostate cancer. And so it's, it's hard to see that, especially when you went to school for this and you're not no longer doing it, but it still is in the back of your head, and unfortunately it's one of those things that at that stage there's no amount of education that you have that could do anything really. And so that's the unfortunate part, when you feel like you can't do anything, and you went to school for so long and still going to school, and you're still, in my mind, useless. That's sometimes how I feel when it comes to certain things that I can't control.
Well, that brings up a good point. So I have a neighbor who has slow growing leukemia. He has CLL. And I think that's right? The slow growing leukemia. Anyway, he knows that it's coming. It's a slow growing leukemia, so it's slower. And he might outlive me. But we recently talked about his spiritual journey. And that's something that he's just now addressing. And this is a brilliant man who is a physicist, who does his own cancer research at home. He has his own lab at home where he does his own blood work and all that, all kinds of monitoring. And we talked about, how is he feeling spiritually right now on his journey? And he's been feeling spiritually empty. They go to church, and his wife grew up more religious than he did, but he never really felt that strong connection to a higher power and the universe around him. And so now in his 40s, he's exploring that. He has kids that are almost teenagers, and he was feeling very empty until he stopped and really reflected and realized that that's what he was missing in his life. So that is part of holistic care as well. So if you are facing something in your life where your mortality is is flashing before your eyes, or seemingly so, how are you caring for yourself in those areas of your life as well? So I'm excited for his journey and his realization that that was something that was missing, because that can fill, I hate to say fill a void, but that could give us direction and connection in some areas that we might be lacking.
All right. Well, um, so me and Andrea were just working on the back end a little bit here with the giveaway. Um, it turns out the quoted retweets don't count for a Twitter picker. I didn't know that, so I kind of messed up when I told you guys to quote the tweet. So we're gonna come up with another way. I think maybe we can find a name picker or something.
Okay.
But so we're working on that. But yeah, Andrea, did you have any other questions that you want to highlight?
First about the giveaway, we can also announce after the space is ended, so we don't have to keep everyone here until we find a solution. And second, Rigel, I'm working with cancer survivors to have this book, motivational book, with empowering quotes, empowering messages from them for everyone else, not only for cancer warriors, anyone who has any challenging in life, And the message, the thing I'm asking when I talk with them is, what is one empowering message or a message of hope to keep them going, to keep them positive. So I want to ask you the same. Do you have an empowering message, a message of hope for anyone else who is going to listen to this space, for example?
Yes, life is a gift, and you are a gift, and you're worth it. You're worth a healthy life, and you're worth a healthy lifestyle. You're worth going to get screenings for. Your life is worth it. A lot of people really want to be living and they're not. So let's live life for them. So you're worth it. Go get it. Go get your screening.
Thank you, Rigel. That's beautiful. Yes, Joel, go ahead, please.
I also would add maybe live your life to the fullest, enjoy every day you have, embrace your friends and family or family and friends, and look for the positive things. And to Shibazam, I didn't know you're going through all that much hardships, and I really respect what you're going through. So stay strong. And to your dad, it is very trying actually to be on the both sides of that spectrum, to be the patient and to be the caregiver. And being a professional or a medical professional or anybody that has medical knowledge, I think it's even twice as hard, because sometimes when you know more or too much, it's even scarier to be the helpful person or to be the one helping the sick person. So I really sympathize with you where you are. So I just wanted to say that. That's all.
Thank you, Joel. I want to give a shout out to Hasta La Vista. He lost his father due to colon cancer. I want to give a shout out to Windy. She had a similar experience with her mom, breast cancer. And I want to give a shout out to all of you who stayed 2 hours with us in this space, and especially to Rigel, who shared her inspiring story with us. And I'm so grateful for the wisdom and insight you have shared with us. And of course, a huge, gigantic thanks to Shibazam, to Adrock, to Joel, to Amber, to John, for this valuable contribution to this important discussion. Definitely, I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else did the same. For the giveaway, I will handle this with Adrock after we end the space. Adrock, sounds good to you?
I got it right now. I found a name picker. So it's like a Twitter picker thing, but you just put in a bunch of names. So I just put in all the names of everybody that's here in the space, excluding me and Andrea. And I spun the wheel, and Johnny won. So Johnny is the Tutti Frutti
Congrats,
winner.
Johnny.
Claim your
Congrats,
prize.
Johnny. Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go and let's grow. Johnny actually has many Tutti Frutti Human. He's a big supporter of Tutti Frutti Human. Thank you, Johnny, and congrats.
And what's the character, Johnny, that's on your PFP?
It's a sappy seal.
A sappy seal. That's what they are. They're so cute.
Yes.
I want to give a shout out to people like Julius Kim, who use their public platform to promote colorectal cancer screenings. He actually, just as I was sending him a message, he's a defense attorney. I don't know if anybody follows him on Twitter, but he has a large public platform. He's on CNN a lot. But he used his public platform to promote colonoscopies. And I just want to say I'm so proud of him and the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. We've already tweeted this to you, but we're so proud of you for using your large public platform for such a great cause. So thank you at Julius Kim for doing that. And you're hilarious. So yeah, just wanted to give out that shout out for anyone using their public platform for a positive.
Let's go. Yeah, I appreciate everybody being here. I'm honored to be here and co-hosting myself. So I can't wait for the next one, Andrea. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's push for more legislation for supporting cancer warriors and cancer survivors, tutti frutti women. That's something we can talk about more.
Yes, definitely. Totally agree with you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Yes, and see you in next month, in a few
Thank
days.
Fruity Women. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Ad Rock and Sheba Zam and Jolt. Thank you for being a medical provider. Amber for speaking out. John, you too. I appreciate you speaking up about your preventative lifestyle. That's freaking awesome. And if we were all as healthy as you, the world would be saving a lot of money and lives. But and all the audience, because without you, we're just talking amongst ourselves. So thanks, guys, for putting time into this. Have a great day.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daniel. I see you. So have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rigel. Thank you, everybody. Bye.